Okay, fine. Yeah, let's say for example, we are writing some we are writing up some class. Okay, some class of divide. Now inside that public void um, yeah, divide. Okay, into num1 comma into num2. Okay, so we are doing of some calculations, right? So whenever we are doing of some calculations, instead of num integer, if I am taking float, okay, if I am taking float, so float result equal to num1 by num2. Okay, so let's say 10 by 3. Okay, 10 by 3 means 10.0 by 3 means what is the resulting value will come? It is of floating numbers. It is of float numbers, guys, not integer. Then what is the result will come? Decimals. It will come off 3.3.3 like that, right? 3.333 like that. It will come the result, right? Now, if we are using internally our system, if we are using internally our platform means it is the operating system and the architecture of the processor both will call it as a platform. That is the first class, first part I told you, right? So now if our system is contains, my system is contains Windows operating system and 64-bit, just assume. Okay, now in that case it will give off one type of result. Okay, if we are using of Linux operating system with 32-bit processor, 32-bit processor, then it will give off different types of result. Then it will give off different type of results. That means that it will give some platform dependent results. Okay, to avoid that, to avoid that problem, whatever the floating point calculations that we are doing, if you are using, it will be platform dependent. Okay, to avoid that, if you want to get the platform independent results, platform independent, it doesn't matter where we are running the application, but I want the results should be of same independent. Then in that case we need to go for a strict tfp. If we are using strict tfp, then it will give the results, then it will follow internally IEEE 754 standards. Okay, it will follow some standards while returning the results. While returning the results, it will follow some standards. Okay, but this is introduced in 1.2 version only, but mostly we will not use it. Okay, because mostly we will use of 64-bit like that, right? So no one is using 16-bit or 32-bit like that, right? So mostly we are not using it. Okay, but we should explain the concept, right? That is the main, that is the main theme of the strict tfp. Okay, now if you want, but and that too the strict tfp is applicable for classes and members. Let's say if the class is declared as, if a class is declared as mm, yeah, if a class is declared as, if a class is declared as under that whatever the methods that is there, in anywhere if you are following of any calculations related to floating point, then all that will follow of that IEEE 754 standards. Okay, let's say for suppose if a method only one method want to follow that. Okay, let's write off one class, class mm, TFP test. Let's say for example we are writing of our classes many methods we have written. Okay, m1 void m1 m2. Okay. So if our class is if our class is declared as for class is declared as strict fp, okay, strict fp, then under the class, then under the class whatever the methods that is following, that are the any method, if you are doing of any calculations means floating point calculation, then all methods will follow that IEEE standards. Let's say if you don't want to follow of all the methods, only particular method only if you want to follow, then we can mention for that particular method. Rest of the methods will not follow the strict fp rules. Okay, that is the difference between both. Okay, for the classes and for the methods. Okay, if you want, let's read it while a while, and then we'll go for the next topic. Strict FP. Strict FP means strict floating point. Okay, it is introduced in 1.2 version. Okay, we can declare the strict FP for classes and methods only, but not for variables. When we will go for the strict FP means usually the result of floating point arithmetic is varied from platform to platform. Okay, so if you want platform independent results, it doesn't matter where we are running, either in Linux or Windows or Mac. So if you want the result is independent results, then in that case we should go for a strict FP modifier. Okay, and the strict FP modifier we can use for methods and classes. If a method is declared as, then all the floating point calculations in that method will has to follow of the standards. Okay, and we'll get off independent results. If you are making the class itself is as a strict FP means, then all the methods, if a class is declared as strict FP, then for every floating point calculations present in that class, all methods will follow of that the standards. Okay, that's what the difference. Now next go to member modifiers. A class contains member modifiers. Okay, let's say for example, if a class contains methods and variables, right? Now already this you people have know that. Okay, a class is, if a class is not declared as public, then what will happen, guys? If a class is not declared as public, then what will happen? Can I access that class in other package? Yes, if you're not declaring anything, it is default. Okay, so if I want to use of any of the method in the class, let's say class, okay, class test. Okay. Inside this test class, I have a method called void m1 method. Okay. If I want to use of this method in some other class, let's say so SOP, I'm telling okay directly m1 method. One in test. Okay. Now this is in some package. Just assume the package is com dot techno dot ibc dot some package. Okay, some what we are discussing declarations, right? Access to sphere acc is access. Okay, now under this package I have written one class, test class. Okay, now if I want to access this class in some other package, just assume one more class I have written, copy this, and test1, just assume test1 class, this is in access1 package, access1 package. If I want to use of this class, if I want to use test1 test class in test1 test1 class, can I access it? Can I access it or not, guys? Yes, the class is not public. Okay, if the class is not public means that class we can use within this package only, within this package only. Okay, now if a method is declared as, let's say the class is public. Okay, now we can access this class in other class, but the method is not public, method is not public. So Now can I access this method in this class? Now let's try it, whether we can access or not. For that we'll create a package dot dot okay, ibc dot acc access dot pack1. Okay, we'll write off, we'll create one more package, package pack2. Okay, this is a different package. Now under the pack1, just I'm creating one class. Just assume I'm creating one class test or test1 class, any class, just to finish it. I'm writing one method m1 void m1 method. Okay, so it is of let's system.out.println m1 method in test class. Okay, now if I want to use this class in other package, let's say class test1, write it main method. So now the class is public, right? Test equal to new test. Okay, so it is giving error. What we need to do now? It is giving error. So first it is in different, we are in package 2, but the test is in package 1. So we need to do of import. We need to do import, right? Let's import it. Pack 1 from pack 1. Now I want to call off method. What is the method? What what is the method name in the test class? M1 method, right? Now let's see whether we can call off t dot m1. Are you able to call m1 method? It's giving off error, guys. The reason is clearly it is telling method m1 from type test is not visible in the test1 class. It is saying not visible. Okay, so that means that we are not able to see the access. We are giving as default. We are giving here as default. So the default methods will be accessible only within package. Within, let's say under this package, just assume I've created one more class for this test2. Test2 class I've created. Under this, if I want to call of that m1 method, test equal to new test. Now if I want to call of t dot m1, it is visible, right? In the within the same package, I created some other class, and then I'm using of test method, test class method m1. It is accessible, and then no error is giving because of this line. Okay, it is not giving any error in test2 class is available in the package 1, right? So the test class method m1 is accessible in test2 class because both are in same package. Okay, the reason is it is a default method. The class is public, the method is default. So that method we can't access outside of the package. Let's say if we are making it as a public, this method also, then only the other package, the package to test1 class, package to test1 class will not give any error. So we can able to execute that. So M1 method of test class from different package. Okay, clear or not, guys? This one. Okay, let's say go and read the document. Okay, public members. Members means a class contains what are the members of a class? A class can contain of methods and variables, right or not? Right? Int a equal to 100. This is one variable. member variables. Okay, a class can contains of variables and methods will both will called as a members. Okay, if a member declared as, it may be a variable or method. If a member declared as public, then we can access that member from anywhere. If a member is declared as public, then you can access that variable or method from anywhere, but the corresponding class also should be visible. Yes. Now in this case, what we are doing, the class is not public, but the method is public, then also no use. Okay, whenever a method is calling, that time it will check the its a class visibility also. Now only method is making public is not sufficient. Okay, even class also should be public. That's what this point. Okay, so anywhere the corresponding class should be visible. Before checking the member visibility, we have to check the class visibility also. If class is not public, there is no point of checking the member visibility. Okay, if the class itself is not public, then what is the meaning of checking whether the public or not for the methods, right? The class itself is not visible to the other out of package, right? So whenever we are checking of that member variable visibility, before that we'll check of class visibility also. Okay, if the class itself is not public, there is no point of checking the member visibility for the methods. Okay, now let's go to one more example if you want. So I have given of sorry, I have given of two examples. This is without public, the method is public, the class is not public. In this case, it will give compilation error, it will not accept it. Okay, in this case the class is public, the package one, and that package we are importing that a class in the package 2. Okay, and in this case no error, it will give off output. Okay, now next go to default members. Okay, if a member is not declared as anything, then by default it is treated as default. Okay, those members we can access only within the package. That already I have explaining multiple times. I am telling this sentence multiple times. If a class member is declared as now if I'm not declaring anything, then by default it is default. The default members means either variable or method we can access only within the package, but not outside of package. Now let's see, even the meaning of this is control Z public. So nothing is there means it is default. Okay, remove this, remove this. Now both class and the method both are default access specifier. This method can be accessed only within the package. That here it is not giving any error. So if I'm removing off that public, it is giving off the error in the other package. That's what the next point. If a member is declared as default, then we can access that member only within current package. Okay, from outside package of from outside of the package we can't access. Hence the default access is also known as package level access. Okay, now let's see the examples. There is no much differences, only removing of that values public. Okay, now next private members. Private members, let's say for example we'll take off one more example. Let's where is this? Yeah, remove import. Now if I'm making class, okay, so class is public only, class is public only, members, okay, private, private int a equal to 10. Okay, private int a equal to 10, or else already we have created two classes right here, we will use of that instead of this. Yeah, inside this method along with method I'm creating of one private variable. Private int a equal to just 100. Okay. Now, if I want to access of a variable a, let's remove this one. Let's before that access it. Go to test2 class. M1 method is called. If I want to print off a value also, system.out.println of t dot a. It is printing. Let's run it. It is see the output. It is printing. Okay. If you are making the variable as private, if you are making variable as private, now you see within the package also it is giving, within the package also it is giving error. See, the way a is not visible. So the private variables we can't access outside of the class. Private variables we can't use outside of the classes. If you want to use this variable within this method only, within this method only you can access it. A value is okay, only within the class, only within this class only we can use this private variable, but not outside of the class. Okay, let's remove this. This variable I am printing only within that method. Okay, because we can't access that private variables. Okay, outside of class we can't access that. Let's see, only within that method only I'm adding that, but outside of this variable where I'm using within this class only, but outside of the class we can't. Outside of means so any other class want to access this variable, that is not possible. Okay, the private members, let's go and read that document. If a member is private, then we can access that member. Okay, it may be a method also or it may be a variable also. So in this case the method itself is also giving error. See, it is not visible out of this class. Okay, that's what we want to make. Members means it may be a variable or it may be a method. Okay, if any variable or method is declared as private, then we can use of this method only within class only. Okay, now you can call this method the private method in within this class only, not outside of this class. It won't give any error. Now let's go in other class. I will call off M2 method. Internally it will call off M1 method. Okay. Now M2 method. Let's run it. Yes, it is calling, but the M2 method is default, right? So in other not in other package, within the package zone itself also the private members cannot be accessed. Okay, only within class only we can access the private members. Now next part, what is that? Yeah, if a member is private, then we can access that members only within class. From outside of the class we can't access. And abstract methods, abstract methods should be available to the child class, child classes to provide implementation, whereas private methods are not visible available to the child class. So whenever we are writing any abstract methods, any abstract method means let's say void m3, void m3, just semicolon. This is of abstract method, right? We need to use abstract here, right? And the class also should make as abstract, compulsory, right? Wherever we are providing of in the other classes, we should be, it should be compulsory, public only, private cannot be accessed. It cannot come as private. By default the implementation classes, the child classes will make as public. Okay, now protected members, protected members. Now if a member is declared as protected, if a member is declared as protected, now let's make it The test1 class is there, right? I'll write off one more method, void m3 method, remove this abstract. Okay, public, and I'm making one method as protected m3 method. Okay, system.out.println of m3 method, m3 method in test class. Okay, now if you want to access a protected member, okay, I have one private member, one public member, public. Okay, let's make up one more default m4. Let's remove this, just assume. Okay, I have one private method, one public method, one default method, and one protected method. Okay, now we are discussing about protected member. If you want to access this protected member, then we can access within the package, within package. Now let's delete this m3. M3 we can access it. Now let's make it as m3 method is called. We can access this protected members in outside of the package through subclasses only. Through directly we can't access the protected members in other package. How to access means it is of through subclasses only. Through subclass only. Let's say, for example, already in our case, so I have created one class M1. Sorry, class A1. It contains of one protected method, method 1. Okay, and class B1 is extending of A1. So in this case, no issues. Everything will work as expected. Now copy this. Okay, maybe for you also it is easily understood. Let's A1. Okay, yeah, simply control shift. What happened? Now class A1. So I have written one protected member. So I am created one more class B1 extending of A1 class within the package, right? So now if I am calling created object of A1 class and then calling of M1 method, I am creating of B1 class and then calling of M1 method. Both are calling this method only. Method in protected one method in method in A1 class. A1 class. Now let's say first execute of this one. It is executing. Now let's say second A1 class, right? It should be A1 running, right? Make it as should be B1. But 1 second, let me rename it of B1. Whichever main method is there, it should be that one with that name only. Okay, of A1. It is A1 only. Yeah. Now let's run it. It is calling of M1 method of A1 class. So even B1 class also extending the A1 class. So if I'm creating of B1 class and then if I want to execute of method 1, then we can access it. Okay, it is within the package, no issues. M1 method in A1 class. Both times it is calling. Sorry, it is A1, right? Yeah, both are executing correctly. Now if I want to access protected member of protected member means the A1 class, A1 class, A1 class m1 method. A1 class m1 method. Now it should be public to go for others. Okay. Not accept again. Let's comment off this part. This is not required. Make it B1. Just assume. Okay. The B1 class is there. It contains of one protected member. Okay. If I want to access this protected member in outside of the package, then through subclass only. Directly we can't access it. How exactly means? Let's create of one more class. C1. Just assume C1 class. Extending of extends which method is B1 here. Yeah, extends B1 class. Extends B1 class. So let's import it. Okay. B1 method contains B1 method contains there is a method called method 1, right? So now if I want to access that, if I want to access the, let's create main method. Okay, create b1 b equal to new b1. Okay, if I want to call, method 1, but actual method is available in b1 class. Okay, now if created b1 class object b dot the method name method 1. So this is not accessible directly in the other packages. We can't access this method 1, the protected method in other packages directly. Through subclass only we can access. Then what we need to do is this is not possible. So directly the method is available in b1 class only. So that protected member we can't access directly in the other packages. Through child class only we can access. Now what is the child class of b1? C1 is the child class. Now c1 c is equal to new c1, new c1 c dot m1. This is possible. Through subclass only we can access. Through subclass we can access the protected members outside of the package. Let's read the point and then come back it again. Now it is accessible. Now go to document, protected members. If a member is declared as protected, if a member is declared as protected, then we can access that member anywhere within the package. That is no restrictions within the package means, but only in child classes of outside the package, but only in child class of outside the package. And we can access protected members in outside package only in child classes. So that's what, right? So this is the direct class. If I want to access that protected member of b1 class, then the through child class, this is the c1 is the child class of b1 class, right? Through this object c1 class object only, through c1 class object only we can access the protected member of b1 class, but not by using direct b1 object. That's what this point. So only in the child classes we should have child class reference only. Even while accessing also the child class reference only we should use. Otherwise we can't access it. That's what this point, guys. Okay. The parent reference cannot be used. What is the parent class of C1 class? B1. Okay. By using B1 class object, we can't access that protected member of B1. Okay, that's what. See, the package is package 1 a1 class. Okay, within this class it is fine, right? Within this class it is no issues. Now let's go to, yeah, let's go to, there is that, yeah, come down. Yeah, this is package 2, the test class b1 method, test class extending b1. Now in this case directly if you are using of b1 class method object, b1 class object to access of protected member of B1 class, it is giving error. It will give error. If you are using the same class child class object, then it is possible. Okay. We can access the protected members from outside package. From outside the package only in child classes. Only in child classes, but not we can't use directly. Now we should use that child class reference only. This is the T2 is the child class of B1 class. If you want to access the B1 class protected member, compulsory we should use of test2 class object only. Okay, that's what this point meaning. Okay, is it clear, guys? Or you want me to repeat again this part? Protected member, I'm thinking maybe some confusion. Guys, are you able to hear me? Protected members, you want me to repeat again? Maybe public, default, private is no confusion. I'm thinking maybe the protected is might be some confusion. Okay, let's take off one more example. Hmm, let's delete all existing one. Maybe confusing. Now delete. Okay. In the package one, I created one class. Okay, class is what we are doing access protect test one. Okay, mm, A1 class. Okay, of void test one method. Test one method system.out.println test one method of A1 class. A1 class. Now by default it is protected. Okay, let's make this method as protected. Okay, protected. If I want to access this protected member in within the package only, let's create one more class. Okay, class B1. Just assume B1 class extends A1 extends A1 main class. Create A1 class object first. Okay, A1 class object. A1 class contains method A equal to new A1. So both A1 class and B1 class within package one only, guys. Okay, so if you want to access the protected members within package, no issues. Okay, now system.a dot test method. Okay, A1 class contains test1 method, right? It is a protected method. It is of protected method. Now let's run it. We can access it. The method will execute without any issue. Okay, even with the B1 class object also, if I'm creating B1 class B equal to new B1. So both A1 class and B1 class, by using both objects, both class objects, we are able to access the test1 protected method. Test1 protected method. Is it clear up to now? This is the A1 class contains one method, protected method, not public, not default, not private. Okay, protected method. This method we can access within the package without any issues. Okay, is it clear up to now? Now, if I want to access a protected member of protected method of A1 class in other package, in other package, let's create class C1 I'm created. It is in the C1 class is in which package? Package 2, guys. C1 class is in package 2. Now, if I want to access of A1 class method, protected method. Now let's main method a1 a equal to new a1. Okay. Now till now no error. A dot next a dot test one. We have a test one dot, right? We have a method called test1 method in A1 class. I have created A1 class object in different package of C1 class, but it is giving error. We can't access it. That I am not able to visible that method. That's what it is giving error. So if you want to access this A1 class protected method, what will you do? Extends A1. Okay, it is not giving any error. Look, for time being, comment this line. Up to now we are extending the class A1. Now the A1 method is coming to C1 class also. It is a parent class of C1 is A1, right? Now if I am creating directly the A1 class and then if I can't access that protected member, if I am creating C1 class, C1 class C equal to new C1, okay, it is of child class. It is of C1 is the child class of A1 class. Okay. If we want to access the A1 class protected member, then we need to use of child class object reference only. Okay. A1 child class is C1 class. Okay. C1 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 C equal to new C1 of C dot test1. This case is possible through child class reference only. It is possible, not directly. See, now it is not giving any error. But actually the test1 method is available in A1 class. So I created A1 class object, but now I am not able to call that method. Okay, the protected method. But that method we can call through subclass reference only. That's what C1 is a subclass of A1. Through this, we can call this protected member of its parent class. Okay, is it clear now? Okay. Now next we'll go for next. What is the topic? Yeah, synchronized modifier. What is a synchronized modifier means? Let's say, for example, if I want to use of, if I want to write off some code, let's we'll go for some example. Yeah, close it. Let me close off all. Okay. Now I'm writing off one simple program to display numbers. To display numbers 1 to 10 or 1 to I'm displaying some numbers. Whatever the number I'm giving, it will display that many numbers. Okay. Now not go for anywhere, directly create of main class, main method of method object for this class p equal to new. Okay. Now if I'm passing p dot print numbers method is there, it is expecting of let's say I'm giving of 5. Okay, if I'm giving of 5, let's interpret exception, add it, add throws declaration. Okay, now what I'm written, I written one class, I written of one method print numbers, it is taking of one number. Okay, for loop I'm using, I iterating that many number of times. Let's say, so every printing time I'm giving for half second time, everything will be executed by some thread only, guys, all code. So I'm telling JVM wait half second, printing of every number. Okay, now let's run it. It is printing every half second, it is waiting. Okay, let's say if I'm giving here as 1000 means or 2000, it will wait every time 2 seconds to print off another number to number. It is waiting 2 seconds for every number printing. It is executing of multiple times the for loop, right? So it is waiting. I'm giving of 5 seconds, half second. Okay. Now The same thing. Okay, if I'm calling this method, every time it is waiting, so you are also calling the same time. Okay, you are also created the print number sequence class object, and then you are also calling this method same time. And let's assume 100 people are executing this method same time. 100 people are executing the same method same time means we may get off some inconsistent result. Okay, let's say for me, my thread while executing only 4 lines will execute, rest of the lines it is not executed, it is keeping hold, and the chance is giving to some other. Okay, then we may get off some inconsistent result. Let's say this method is contains of some 100 lines. Out of 100 lines, the line number 1 contains the value of a is 10. On the 50th line, the value of, and the calculations out of 49 lines calculation, the value of a is becoming some 100 or something. Or else, let's say I will take up one more example. Void m1. Okay, now inside this int a equal to 10 is there. Okay, now just assume it contains of some 100 lines of code. By the time 100, some 10th line, the a value is it is becoming, just assume it is doing some calculation, and then becoming a is becoming 200. Okay, on the line of 20th line, the a value will become some 400. Okay, or 300. Now, while executing of M1 method with thread 1, so all people are calling same method in the one shot. So, JVM will give, okay, JVM 100 threads will run, right. That time what it will do, it will execute of first people, whoever called first time, they are executing of, let's say, some 10 lines is completed. By the time the A value is 200. Okay, now it will keep on hold. Whoever, let's say my code is running my thread, so 10 lines is completed. By the time a value is 200, now the JVM keep on my code hold the execution, and it will give chance to some other people, some other thread. Then his execution will start again from first, right? That time, by the time a value is 200, okay, that time his execution will start, actually it should start from 10th. The value a is 10 in the initial time, but by the time executing of before thread, the a value is keeping as 200. Okay, then whoever coming the next time for this method, they will get the a value as 200. His execution will start from 200 instead of 10. That time the we will get of irrelevant result, irrelevant result or inconsistent result. The correct result we can't get it. Okay, to avoid that, to avoid that, we will use synchronized keyword. What synchronized keyword will do, it will allow only one thread, it will allow only one thread to its execution. Let's say if I am executing, if my thread is executing this method, then it will not allow to execute of other thread until my execution is completing. Okay, now we'll go for some example practical now. Now without this, now let's remove this. I'm going to call off one more method. Yeah, this is of synchronized test. This is a class. This is one class. Without synchronized, I'm executing. Okay. Now go here. So in the main method, I have created of print sequence number class object. So I want to execute of 4 times that. I want to give, I'm giving as 4 as number. It will iterate of 4 times. Okay. So runnable is this part is, it is in multi-threading, guys. Okay. For time being, remember this you can't understood. It is a runnable. It is in multi-threading concept. Okay. This actually I will explain later this part. For time being, I want to call off the print number sequence method. There is a method called printing numbers. Print numbers method I want to call from the other class by giving off number is 4. So it will print 1 2 3 4. Okay, Now I'm giving this work to two threads. Let's just assume two people are executing that print numbers method at a time. At a time. Okay. So by using of two threads. Okay. This is just assume I am executing. This is one. So this is executing by some other guy. Okay. Now let's run it. It will give chance to. It will give. Let's see. See, thread 1 and thread 2. This is first it is giving a thread. JVM is executing my thread. It is printing 1. And after that it is stopped my execution. It is giving chance of other thread. Okay. For other people also it is giving chance. His work also completed 1. Okay. And again it is giving chance to him only it is giving chance for printing of 1 and 2. Again it is coming to me. Like that it is giving of not giving correct result. Okay. First it is giving thread 1 and thread 2 is printing of 1 and 2. Okay. Again it is coming to thread 1. Okay. Let's say I don't want the irrelevant result like this. So let's say thread 1 is started means I want to finish off 1, 2, 3, 4 for thread 1 and then start off thread 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. To, then in that case we'll get up the result is correct one. Let's say synchronized. Keep synchronized keyword before the method. Now let's see the result. First it will finish off thread 1 all its work. Thread 1 all its work. After that only it is moving to thread 2. Okay. That's what the synchronized. So synchronized concept again we will discuss in the multi-threading. Okay. For explaining of the synchronized modifier, this is the example I have given. Okay. Now let's read it. Synchronized is the modifier applicable for methods and blocks, but not for classes and variables. Only this is for methods and blocks only. Block means let's say this is instead of writing here at the method level I want to use of here also I can use it is of block. This is of like this we'll call it as a synchronized block. This one I can say it is of a synchronized block. This keyword is applicable for methods as well as for blocks. Okay. Now, if multiple threads trying to operate simultaneously on the same object, if multiple threads, see, I have created two threads, thread 1 and thread 2. If multiple threads trying to operate on same method, on printing numbers method only, on print number sequence object, on the same object, then there may be a chance of data inconsistency problem. We will get up some irrelevant result. We'll call this as a race condition. We'll call this problem as a race condition. We can over this race condition problem by using of synchronized keyword. By using synchronized keyword. Okay. Now, if a method or block declared as synchronized, if a method is declared as synchronized, then at a time only one thread is allowed to execute. At a time, only one thread is allowed to execute that method or block on the given object, so that the data inconsistency problem is resolved. Okay. Now, so let's say for example, okay, let's say for example, guys, we'll take one more example for better understanding. Okay, in within 2 minutes. Let's say I'm in meeting room. Okay, but the door is in open mode. The door is in open mode. I'm in meeting room. I'm doing up some work inside that. Okay, without open means the door is not closed. So that means that anyone can come into the meeting room or not, guys. Anyone can come into the meeting room. Let's say I have locked once I am going inside, I locked the method. Sorry, I locked the door. I locked the door inside a room. Then no one is allowed, right or not? Until I am completing my work and then coming out. So no one can go inside that, right? So just assume here also, once any one thread is executing, one thread is executing this method, then others will not allow to execute this method if a method is declared as synchronized. Okay, until finishing its work, it will not release the lock. Okay, if the synchronized is not there means, then at a time any number of people can execute this method. Okay, any number of threads can execute this method. Okay, but the main disadvantage of synchronized keyword is, it increases the waiting time of threads, right or not? Let's say I'm in the room, until finishing my work no one can come into the room, right or not? So until I'm coming out, then only it will give chance for other people. So the waiting people of outside will be, the time will increase, waiting time will increase for the other threads to finish its work. So that time it will create of some performance problems. That time it will cause of some performance problems. If there is no special requirement, so it is not recommended to use synchronized methods until and unless if there is any specific requirement. Okay, now let's now let's and see. So without this so just assume two two persons are trying to execute the same method. So whenever we are t1 dot start means, it will execute of internally run method. Okay, t1 method also will execute this method, t2 also will start executing run method internally. Okay, so that what it is doing internally of run method, I'm calling of print numbers method of this print number sequence class. Okay, so if the method of this one is not synchronized, then in that case, at a time multiple threads also can start its execution. See, thread 1 is started, thread 2 also, again it is coming to thread 1, again thread 2, like that it is coming in inconsistent manner. Okay, but your requirement is, let's say once thread 1 is started its work, then until completion of thread 1 work, we should not give chance to thread 2. If you want to do like that, then the method of that, whatever the method that you are calling print numbers method, make it as synchronized at the method level, or make the block also, make a block also. In this case also it will give, only it will allow one thread, thread 1, 1 2 3, say, after that only thread 2 is got access. Let's say if I'm giving 10, now until first thread is finishing 10 times, it will not give chance to thread 2. See, after 10 only it is giving chance to thread 2. Okay, that's what synchronized keyword, synchronized keyword. Okay, is it clear guys? Synchronized, for the synchronized concept will come in multi-threading. Okay, that time I'll explain the synchronized part once again. Okay, for explaining of the synchronized keyword or access modifier, explain this example. Okay, now we have transient modifier. Transient means, now if I want to transfer some data, if I want to transfer some data from my system to another system. Okay, to send one object from one system to another system, it will go in the network level or not? In the network mode only it will go. I'm sending in through internet, that means that compulsory it will go through network only. Okay, now there may be, whenever you are sending the data in the network level, there may be some sensitive information also, right or not? So let's say guys, I'm sending some data to you in the mail or in some other way. In some way I'm sending some data. Inside that, let's say my bank username and password is there, my bank username and password is there. So if someone is hacking my file in between reaching to you, okay, then They can log into my credit bank account. He can do some transfers. Correct or not, guys? If only if I'm sending username, but not, I don't want to send password information. I don't want to send password information, only username only I want to send. Then in that case, in the network level, if you don't want to share the sensitive information, then those variables, okay, those properties of a class, we can make as transient. Okay, let's take off one example. Let's take one example. Let's take one example. So I have created one employee class. Okay. And guys, if you are not implementing serializable, if you are not implementing serializable, then we can't transfer the object in the network level. Must and should our class should implement serializable interface. What serializable interface will do is, so it doesn't have any methods, but internally JVM will understood. Internally JVM will understood if if any class is implemented as serializable, then we can send that class object in the network level. Okay, even we'll see that also. If you are removing, whether we'll get error or not. Let's say for example, employee class. Employee class contains of let's remove this one. Let's remove this one, private into employee ID, string username, string password. I want to send this employee object information to some other people, or to some folder, or to some other system. Okay, so then in that case, what we need to do, we need to create of we need to create of object of the class, right? And we need to set it. Let's run it. Assume doesn't there. So what I'm doing, so I'm created of employee object, employee emp equal to new employee. I'm setting the data by using setter method. Set employee equal to 100, and username is called ibc, password equal to test123. Just assume test123, I'm passing password. Now, so to send this object in the network level, to send this object in the network level, or to keep in somewhere else, okay? To keep in somewhere else in the some folder somewhere. Okay, let's assume I want to keep this object in some folder. I want to create some file in this project only and then store it. Okay, store that data of this employee object in within this project only, create one file and then store it. For that we need of object output stream. Object output stream, it is of IO operation. So I told you, so if you want to do of any input output related operations, there is one package called java.io package. IO means input output related file operations. If you want to do, then we need to use the classes of java.io package. So in that IO package, there is a class called object output stream. I want to keep this object in some other folder or somewhere in some file. Output, it output is, so if you are reading the file, then object input, object is coming as input. Now my object is going as output. Okay, now object is going as output to somewhere. So object output stream, create object of OOS, new object output stream of I want to create as a file. I want to create that object as a file. For that we need to use file output stream. File output, the output of this one is file. Okay, what is the name of the file? It is of employee info dot SCR. SCR means serializable. Okay, whatever the object that it contains, employee object contains employee id, username, password, right? I want to store this employee object in some file, employee data in some file. Then we need to use of object output stream. That means that it is a output, we are doing of some output operation. You are sending some data to out from the program. So where you want to store, you want to keep in some file. So for that file output stream, This is the file name I want to store. Okay. Now after that, OOS object output stream. This is object name. Dot write object. Write object. Which object we want to store? Employee object. I want to store in some file, and then close that object output stream. Now let's run it. System.out.println object is stored. Okay. Now let's run it. See, object is stored. What is the file name is? empinfo.scr. Now let's refresh the project. One file will be generated in the project. See, the file is employee info is generated. We can keep any name, guys, here. emp, just emp means or emp data. Okay. Now let's run it again. It will create of one more file. Now refresh it. It is created of emp data.scr. Now, so now my data is in here. Now let's say, so while sending my data, all my properties are there is no transient. Now let me read that object again. Let me read this data which is available in this file. I want to read the data of this files. Now let's comment this part. Okay, comment this code, come down and enable this. Let me explain it. Let me. So before object output stream, I want to send that object as out. Okay, from my program. Now I'm getting the data from outside the file. Through file, I'm getting the data. So some file is coming as input to my program. So object input stream. Object is coming as a input to my program. Object input stream OOI. Okay, you can give any name. New object input stream of new file input stream. Before file output stream, we are sending that object to out through out to file. Now file is coming as input to my program. Okay, what is the file name? emp.data or let me empdata.scr. Okay, emp data.scr. Now inside that we have some data is there in this file, right? Now if you want, you can see that, but we can't understood that is in a different format. Okay, see, this is of some object data. This is data, I employee data is there. Now I'm reading that one. It is of reading this line, and then from the object over object input stream object, I'm reading the object, read object. What is the type of object? It is of employee type object. I'm doing typecasting. I'm typecasting inside this employee emp data serializable file. It contains of some employee data. I'm converting while reading that object. I'm converting into employee class. Employee class. From this employee class, I'm reading of employee ID, employee name, username and password. Now let's read it. See, ID is coming, username, password all are coming. But my password is secure. I don't want to transfer this object in the network level while storing the data in object in this file or while reading also. Then in this case we need to make this property as transient. Make this property as password is transient. Even though if you are setting even though if we are setting, now let's delete these two. Okay, now comment this part. Now do serializable again. Sorry, we'll do it again this. Now I created a employee object, even though I setting the password as a test123, but this test123 will not go, it will not be serialized. It will not serializable. The reason is we made this property set password password property as transient. Okay, now let's I have deleted, guys. See, Now emp data is there, right? Or else keep emp d. Just assume emp data. Now do it. Object is stored. Now refresh it. It employee D is file is created with the employee data. Now inside this employee ID, username, password is there actually, right? But I made this password as a transient. Now read that object again now, whether the password will come or not. Now Control Shift, this one, the file is employee D, right? Employee D. Now read the data which is available in that file. Now see, only employee ID and employee username is coming, but not password. Password is whenever it is, if the variable is, if the property is transient, while serializing, while serializing, serializing means here, while setting the data into the object here. So JVM will send for this test instead of test1 through T. What is the password type here, guys? What is the password type? Employee type is int. Username is string. Password is also string. So instead of actual password, it will set as null. It will set as null, and that null object will go into that null password will go to this object. Null password will go to this file. While reading also, we'll get the same null value again back. So from this you should understood, if any property that you are making as transient, that object will never be, that property value will never go inside the network level. Okay. Instead of that, its default value will go. String default value is null. What is the int default value? What is the int default value, guys? Don't know? Don't know. No, no. What is the default value? Default value is 0. 0, guys. Okay, let's try. If I'm making the employee ID also as transient, right? Now let's comment this. First we will serialize, right? Oh, control Z. Go up. Now again do it. It will rewrite the data inside that. Now let's refresh it. Now comment this. Comment it. Now again read that object. Read that file. Now this time two variables we made as transient. Only username only should come, right? What is the value is coming for the employee ID? Even though employee ID is setted, 100 is set, but employee ID property in the employee class is made as transient. That is the reason whenever it is serializing the object, it will send the default value of int type is 0. Like that, default value of string is null. Okay. That's what it is. Let's say if we are not doing this one, if we are not implements serializable is not there, then it will not serialize the object. The object will not serialize. It will give off error. Now let's while serializing. Now let's run it. It will give off some error. See, object is not serialized. Employee, see, not serializable exception. Which class? We are trying to serialize employee object, right? We are trying to send employee object in the network level. So without serializing, we can't transfer that object in the network level. We can't serialize that. So that is the reason it is giving up not serializable exception of object employee. Okay. So from this you should understood, whenever you want to transfer any object in the network level, compulsory is the object, the class must be implement serializable interface. Otherwise you will get off not serializable exception. Now let's go and read that. Hmm. Yeah. Transient is a modifier applicable for only variables, but not we can use transient keyword in a serialization context only. Without serialization, we can't use of this transient keyword again. Okay, both are in sync, must be required. But if transient is not mandatory, only if entire object you want to move, then no need of transient. If some of the properties you don't want to share in the network level, then in that case, transient keyword is modifier is required for the variables. At the time of serialization, if you don't want to save the value of a particular variable, I don't want to share my password value to meet some security constraint, then we should declare that variable as transient. Okay, at the time of serialization, jvm ignores jvm ignores that original value of original value of password, and save default value of its file. Save the default value to the file. The default value of string is null, default value of int is 0. Okay, hence transient means not serialize. Okay, now what is the use of transient key modifier, guys? What is the use of transient modifier? If we don't want to share some sensitive information in the network level while serializing it, okay, then we can make that property as serialized, sorry, transient. We can make that property as transient. If you understood the concept, you can explain in a number of ways. Okay, is it clear, guys? Just to read this document again. Whatever I have given in the verbally, everything is there in the document. Is it clear, guys? Clear or not, guys? If you want me to repeat again, just to go through it again and then practice it. Whatever all the programs also I have given here. Okay, just to practice and then come tomorrow. We'll discuss it again if any doubt is there. Please practice it, guys. Otherwise, it is very difficult to understand. Today you maybe feel like yes, I remember that. Maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow you will forget the last classes if you are not practicing. Okay. Tomorrow I will give volatile. Okay. Tomorrow I'll explain about volatile modifier. Okay. That's what for today's class, guys. We'll meet tomorrow. Thank you, guys. Yeah.